Right. All right, so welcome back. We are ACI course 9 of the foundational courses. This is class 1 on June 8th, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them there with you just by way of you thinking of them. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, a beautiful golden light encompassing you in its warmth. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize that the worldly ways we try fall short. Maybe they help, maybe they don't, but either way, they go on to have some other distress. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Learning about emptiness and karma, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that longing, that wish into a longing, and that longing into an intention. And with that strong intention, turn your mind back to your precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please teach us that. And they're so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood to benefit every existing being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. Okay, so we have one new face here with us, Olesya. Welcome. Everybody else knows each other, and I hope they will all help you feel welcome. And they'll fill you in on how things go. So let's jump right in, please. We are starting course 9, halfway through the 18 foundational courses, like really extraordinary. And then course 9 is in the ethical life. And recognize why we're studying the ethical life at this point. We just finished learning about the realms of existence, all those beings with all that awful suffering. It was an awful class, I admit. And then we capped it off with digging into the realization of our own impermanence. My death is certain. The time of my death is uncertain. And when I die, nothing but my Dharma practice can help me. So, the next question would be, how does my Dharma practice help me? Right? Our Dharma practice is our study of emptiness and karma. And as we've learned, there's no point studying emptiness unless we, by it, understand karma better. And there's really not much point in studying karma if we don't understand it from the principle of no self nature of things. When you combine those two, you have that wisdom that can motivate ourselves to choose our behaviors in a way that will plant the seeds in our minds for results that keep us moving along the path to the end of all suffering for everybody. So we got to course 8 studying all that suffering because we had studied the Bodhisattva vows. And the Bodhisattva vows says, I'm going to make this pledge to avoid these behaviors, do these behaviors, in order to become one who can help all beings stop their suffering. And we got to there because we had studied the Diamond Cutter Sutra. What's a bodhisattva to do? A bodhisattva is to bring every existing being to their freedom from suffering. Total nirvana, they say. So we were studying middle way, where we've made this pledge to help all sentient beings. So we go, well, who are all sentient beings? Just all humans? No, humans and animals. Yeah, but there's beings beyond that, and they're suffering big time. And then, egads, I could become one of them if I die with karmic seeds that could be the cause of any of them, if that seed ripens me into my next rebirth. So that's where we are now, is like, what do we need to know about behavior in order to close those doors to a lower rebirth, open the doors to a rebirth that will keep us on our path and even prepare us for Diamond Way, where we can make that transformation before our time runs out in this one. So I see a discussion going on about translating into Russian for Olesya. Do you want to stop and do that now? Dinar, it's so kind of you to offer.
Yeah, sure, I can.
Can you also then still feel like you're getting class when you're doing that, so you'll be able to do your homework and stuff?
I think I will be able.
Okay. Well, please speak up if you feel like it's distracting you from being a student. Flavia does it for us because she's done all these courses before, probably more than once. Okay, so now how do I get you in the box? Manage language interpretation. Add interpreter. But now Dinar can't talk to me, right? Because I can't put me in, whoops. Okay, testing. Is it working?
No, I don't see the translator. How do you call it thing in front of
Estamos
me?
esperando
I will try it again.
quede resuelto el tema de la interpretación del ruso. Vamos a esperar unos momentos.
Lam, I think you disabled the translation because we can hear the translators in the main channel.
Perdón.
Oh, I'm working on it. Now is it working? Yes. Flavia, are you still working? Okay. All right, thank you. You're welcome. That must be thank you. Okay, keep that away. Okay. So the moral to the story is we are studying ethics, an ethical life. Not just as some random topic, but is the next thing we need to know. Next thing we need to know more about once we have this sense that when I die, nothing but my Dharma practice can help me. So Geshe started his class with, what's the purpose of studying ethics? And the reason to do so, of course, is to reach nirvana or higher. It's really the only reason we would do a class like this is if we had become, aware enough of the stressors of life that we had gotten fed up with them. Like up until this point, we've experienced the stressors of life. I mean, in past lifetimes. And just we're still in the mindset of, well, you can't do anything about it. And so we didn't make sufficient efforts to learn what we would need to learn, to take up what we would need to take up, and to give up what we would need to give up. And so here we are again. We did enough goodness to get a human life, right? Hooray for that. A big rejoicing, whatever we did to get human life. Had to do with sharing things, I understand. So we study ethics in order to reach nirvana. But if we were to ask people, what is this thing, nirvana? We would get a different answer from everybody, unless they've studied the ACI. In which case you'd get this canned answer. And, to the extent the person understands what they mean by it, would take some digging. So we could just say nirvana is escaping from samsara. And if we just defined it like that, we would then have to ask, so what is this thing, samsara? Is it a place, a physical place? Tucson in mid-June, 105 degrees, day after day after day. No, because I like it. But not everybody does. Is samsara only a state of mind? You could say, but it isn't. It is a place. We are in samsara. To escape from samsara, though, is not like getting just the right tool that you can cut the bars of the jail cell and jump out. It's not like that. In that way, it's not a place. To escape samsara is to stop this condition of having thoughts, reactions that lead to some kind of distress, gross or subtle. So really, samsara is this state of being not totally peaceful all the time. And yet to say it like that, it's like, I don't know that I've ever been totally peaceful at all. So I don't really know what it would be like to be free of samsara. And how can I create something if I don't know what I'm creating? Although technically we don't ever know what we're creating. So it's not going to be a problem to create nirvana without knowing exactly what it's like, because imprints grow. Thank goodness for that. So the state of samsara is a state of suffering, obvious or subtle. And suffering's a big word. If we were to use the term suffering, you know, out in public, what does Geshe-la say, like waitress talk, that people don't go, oh, I'm suffering so much today. They say, I had such an awful day. I'm so upset. They did that to me. You know the story of what we do. We don't use the word suffering except in Buddhist groups. And we know what we're talking about, suffering, but it sounds so dramatic. You know, when we have our Dharma hat on, suffering. But while you're going through your day, you know, are you, oh, woe is me, I'm suffering so bad. No, we're just going through life with our struggles. So maybe struggling is as good a word, or stressing out about something. Find a word that you relate to that still motivates you. But if suffering just feels too intellectual to relate to, find some way of holding your mind on, like, the state of mind that I have, it's just a pain in the butt, you know? I want it to be loving. And it's not right now. Like that. So this state of mind nirvana is this peaceful, undisturbed quality of existing, no matter what's going on around you, no matter what's happening to you. Can we even imagine having this peaceful, understanding state of mind as the boss is yelling at you again, blaming you for that thing again, and just, it doesn't rock your boat? It's hard to even conceive of that. But nirvana is this state of mind where you cannot have a mental affliction. You can't have an upset reaction to anything. Not because your willpower is so strong, I am not going to get upset. I don't care, right? That's being upset. It's that there are no more of those seeds to ripen a nothing, anything but peaceful state of mind. Samsara is the state of not being that. So even the most amazing human life is still samsaric when there's anything that can rock our boat in the slightest way. So samsara has two aspects to it: the physical aspect and the mental aspect, which itself has a couple of different aspects of the aspect. The physical aspect of our samsara is our physical body, which when we're first studying about physical bodies, we mean this one. But as we're growing our understanding of karma and emptiness, we're realizing that our physical body extends to other physical things as well. Wait, where did that come from? Go away. Ugh. Bing is taking over my computer. Go away, go away. The computer has a demon in it. So the samsara of our physical body is the fact that the seeds that have caused our physical body are seeds that are stained with misunderstanding and selfishness. And so the body that we have as a result of those seeds must also be stained, which means it also is a suffering, and that body is therefore going to wear out. So the samsara of our body is that it's going to come to an end. It may come to an end before it degenerates. It may degenerate and then come to an end. It may degenerate and may end and then degenerate. Either way, it's going to end because its causes end, because they were made ignorantly. Kind of implies that we could make seeds for a physical body that doesn't end, a physical body that's pure. Would it look like this one? Probably not. This very physical body will kill itself if something else doesn't. We talked about that last course. Then the aspect of samsara that's mental is our mind, our awareness. Our awareness includes our intellect. It includes our thinking, our thoughts. It includes our awarenesses. It's that the mental is the mental functions, and the awareness is the thing that the vehicle within which those mental functions happen. So in our present condition of samsaric minds, that those ripenings in that mind have also all been made ignorantly, mistakenly. So all the ripenings that pop up in that mind are stained, mistaken, and so suffering. It's suffering to have an experience that's stained with ignorance. And then that ripening that's stained with ignorance impels us to think, do, or say something in response that's also stained with ignorance and selfishness. And so our next action is stained again. And so it goes. So this human mind is particularly stained with the inability to be satisfied. So our constant motivation is to get what we want. And we believe that when we get what we want, we'll be happy. But then we get what we want, and either it doesn't bring us the happiness that we anticipated it would, or it does, but then before too long, we're dissatisfied again. So the thing ends up betraying us in some way. That's driven by the misunderstanding within which we made the mental seeds that through which we were able to get the thing or not, through which we were able to keep the thing or not. And because all of those seeds are still stained with the misunderstanding of what we do to get what we want and to avoid what we don't want, thinking that those things work to get what we want and avoid what we don't want, that misthinking makes it such that the very thing that we get can't make us happy because it's procured in a stained way. And yet, our very impulse for existence is to be happy. There's nothing wrong with that. That should continue to motivate us. Samsara is the fact that within samsara, that happiness that we want is impossible. The happiness we want is not impossible. It's impossible within samsara. But wait, samsara is not a place. So how do we get out of a place that's not a place? How do we change our mind from a stained mind to a pure mind if everything we do is impure? It seems like we are stuck in samsara. Another part of samsara is the fact that we cannot truly rely upon anything. Geshe-la used the word trust. We can't trust anything, but not in the sense of not in the sense of they're out to get you. You can't trust anybody to not be out to get you. It's not about that. It's that we can't rely on anything or anybody to bring us the happiness that we want. There isn't anybody that you can go to and beg enough to make you happy who can finally say, oh, okay, right? Because if they could, it would be a Buddha who could do that. A being who is themselves made of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. If they could give us that ultimate happiness that we want, we wouldn't even have to ask for it. The instant somebody becomes Buddha, boom, they would do it for everybody in their world. So all you'd have to do would be a being in another being's world, and that being reaches Buddhahood. And ta-da, you're done. And it's like, either there's no such thing as a Buddha, or they can't do that. Because I'm still suffering. I have joint pain. I get headaches. So, I guess it can't work. So what's the point of becoming Buddha if you can't reach in to somebody else's heart and take away their suffering? What's the point? Your love, your compassion, through your wisdom, you will be what they need. And they will wake themselves up. Okay? They will make the changes. How fast, how long? Long story. Right? Doesn't have to be so long. But can be. 3 times, right? 3 great eons worth. Ouch. So this factor, if you can't trust anything, you can't rely on anything, it means we're not in control of anything. We think we are. I have car keys. I have a car. I can start my car and drive David and I to go have lunch with friends. We did it today. It worked. Got us home, got us there, got us home. It seemed like I was in control of where we went, how long it took to get there, right? I was in control. But was I? No, of course not. Because it was not a given that we would get home. It was not a given that the direction I chose to go would get us home. None of it's a given. So when things do work in the way that we think, it's actually perpetuating our suffering. You know, you put the key, you turn it, the car starts. See? Keys start cars. And only once every now and then, every 3, 4, 5 years, you put the key in the car, you turn it, it doesn't start. And you go, oh man, now I'm going to be late. But all the other times that the key seemed to start the car, it reinforced my misunderstanding that I was under some kind of control and I could start that car anytime I wanted, as long as I had the key. You know. And what's really happening, my karmic seeds for getting people someplace are ripening for all the factors in being able to get somebody someplace were ripening to help me do that. And I used them up, although technically I was taking somebody else with me. So I planted new ones, thank goodness. But my point is, every time it works, every time what we do seems to work to get what we want, we are perpetuating samsara because we continue to believe that what I do now brings what comes next. And it doesn't. That's what's so hard. Seeds ripening makes turning the key start the car. Not turning the key. And it's so difficult to function at that level when we're out in what seems to be such a real world. And that real world then is samsara being perpetuated by the belief that we have some kind of control over things, when in fact we don't. But then as we start to glimpse this uncertainty, it increases our suffering at first. Because like, if you didn't know, you have an appointment, with the doctor at 11 o'clock, it's going to take 30 minutes to get there. So you give yourself 45 minutes to get there so you're not late. And what if you were like, I don't really know if I'm going to get my car started? Like the anxiety level would go up, wouldn't it? Maybe I better go try an hour before, just in case I have to take the bus instead. Maybe, right? The anxiety would get worse if we're living in this uncertainty. If we didn't understand that in that uncertainty is this potentiality to be anything. And yet, until we're at the place where that potentiality is a positive thing versus a scary thing, it's not so helpful to bring it up in our moment-to-moment life. But imagine if you were at that place with your seed planting, where you had done all the work necessary, the purify and make merit work necessary, that your state of karmic seeds is that none of the ones that are still stained with ignorance and selfishness have enough power to ripen anymore. That everything that does ripen is ripening from wisdom. Then your perception of your you is such that it doesn't matter what happens to you. You don't have the seeds to be upset by it. Like, you know exactly how to respond. You will respond in this way. Whatever the unpleasantness is, you're very keenly aware that it's gonna ripen and pass. And there's no need to be upset. There's no need to protect yourself. There's no need. Do you remember the king of Kalinka in Diamond Cutter's Sutra? You know, terrible experience that he's having. And he just loved the king all the more. And then the end of the story, all his cut up parts, right? They jump up and reattach. So come on, in our real world, that doesn't happen. In our samsaric real world, you're right, it doesn't happen. But that was a nirvana world being. Nirvana doesn't mean bad stuff won't happen. It means your state of mind won't be upset no matter what happens. Do you see the difference? So nirvana is still a state where seeds are ripening and seeds are being planted. The quality of the ripening and the planting is so different that we can barely even conceive of what it would be like to have a mind that cannot be rocked from its peacefulness. Right? Just mellow and chill. Not that you couldn't be having a good time somewhere, of course you will. But nothing can upset you because you don't have the seeds for being upset anymore. Does it even seem possible? Hopefully. Yes, Lisa.
Lama, two things that are a bit confusing for me on this. So the first one is, so since we are in samsara and nothing works in samsara, so it's a mistake to strive for some kind of happiness in this life, at least in this way we are now.
Yeah.
And but then what is the sense, or how to say this? Like, should we always like neutral? For example, if I don't know, I hug my best friend and then I feel happy because I feel like connected to the person and the memories, but I know it's not coming from that hug. So it's kind of, I don't know how to explain you. Like, it gives a feeling of disconnection or a feeling of like, what are we doing here? Then we cannot trust what we are feeling at the moment because it's not coming from the moment.
Correct.
And then also,
But the feeling is there.
but we cannot be happy. Like, we couldn't drive through to happiness because it makes no sense in this samsaric world because nothing is working. So it's a bit depressive.
Well, when it could be, and as you can continue to think it through, it also is the doorway to actually being happy regardless, because nothing we do works anyway. Now you know it, so we stop expecting anything to make me happy, so I can just be happy on my own, and just try to share a little happiness with somebody else, knowing full well that whether they get happy from it or not is totally up to them. But just my trying is enough to grow the seeds for my own having some happiness response, apparent happiness response to what I'm experiencing.
But that means if I feel happy because, I don't know, I see my daughter doing something, let's say, and then I know it's not coming from that.
But you share a feeling of happiness anyway, because it's come up from something. And so you share it. And that makes more of it.
But then
So
why to what for to
doesn't-
have like close friends and close
Yeah.
and mother and father and mother and a husband and wife or whatever, when
Right.
at the end I could go and hug the stranger at the corner.
Yes, you
If
could.
this I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so you're saying it's wrong to have this expectation, or wrong in the sense of it's damaging to have this expectation that in samsara you could strive for happiness, because it's not possible. The only way to be happy is when we are Buddhas, then we will be happy. But now it's just some
Nirvana. You'll be peaceful. You'll be happy in nirvana. Yeah, but you have to make it. It's not like you get to nirvana and then you're happy. You clean out the belief that they make me happy with every happiness. Oh, this happiness is because I helped somebody else be happy at some point. It's ripening as my daughter looking like making me happy. So the appearance is happening. It's just your happiness is not really coming from her. It's coming from you having made somebody else happy. So your effort to help others be happy is the source of your happiness, wherever it appears to be coming from. So there's every reason to try to help others be happy.
Okay,
Because
thank you, Lama.
nothing works. Yeah. Tom, is it a short one? Where are you?
I can wait for the break if that's better.
Okay, thanks. I'd appreciate it. Don't let us forget. Okay, so all of that was supposed to help motivate us in our wanting to understand more about our choices of behavior. Like if turning the key doesn't really start the car, what is it that makes turning the key appear to start the car? What is it that makes Luisa's daughter doing something appear to make Luisa happy? And we want to know about how we do that so that Luisa's daughter can make Luisa happy all the time, even though she has nothing to do with it, really. Right? Okay, so we need some vocabulary. ACI 9. Vocabulary. People. Make us bigger. What am I missing? Okay. Okay, so nirvana, samsara, we've talked about. These three, Sharab, Ting and Zin, That's not really the right spelling. I'm going to leave it for now. Sultrum and sultrum. So to be able to deeply understand how it's necessary, how certain behavior, I don't know how to say this, how understanding that Luisa's daughter is not the source of that in the moment happiness. She's the apparent reason for the happiness. To understand how to use that to be able to perpetuate it requires that we grow our wisdom of profound dependence, this thing we call the marriage of karma and emptiness. Sharab is the term for wisdom. Wisdom referring to the direct perception of ultimate reality, the direct perception of emptiness. So once we've had that experience for the first time, your mind's first time, you then have wisdom. You have a truth, you know something from direct experience that previous to that direct experience, you intellectually understood, but it wasn't a reality from personal experience yet. That experience of that reality reveals the truth of, reveals the reality of how our response to things makes the causes, and our experiences of things are the results of those causes. And how that process is the process through which we perpetuate existence, whether it's suffering existence or free from suffering existence. So we need this experience, Sharab. We need that quality of mind. To have it once is not enough. We will experience it multiple times in the course of our transformation. But it's the first time that makes this whopping change in our seed planting, because of the effect that experience has on all of our seeds that make us up at the time that happened. So this experience of the direct perception of emptiness is a portal to the end of all suffering, our own and everyone's. We can't just wish it to happen. We can't just imagine it to happen, although imagining it helps it to happen. We need to cultivate it. And that experience can only happen in a state of deep single-pointed concentration. A concentration level where our awareness is beyond our sensory input, even in a way beyond our automatic intellectual reactions. right? We can still guide and direct our meditation at this level of meditation necessary to see emptiness directly. But we will be doing so in this single pointed quality of mind that is free of the dullness that would block the emptiness directly and free of the agitation that blocks that ultimate reality. So we need to have a quality of mental concentration in meditation that allows us to be at the platform of withdrawal of mind, such that when we turn our meditating mind onto the true nature of our object, it can penetrate to this absence of self-nature. It takes a real deep quality of concentration to be able to hold the mind still, free of dullness, free of agitation on an absence, particularly on the absence of oneself, right? Which is a scary thing if you're not sure about it. Excuse me. So we need Ting and Zen, the ability to turn on single-pointed concentration, turn it on and off at will. These two factors, the ability to turn on our single-pointed concentration in meditation, and the ability to grow our understanding of emptiness intellectually into an actual sherab, a direct perception that we are now out of. So we have this quality of mind sherab. Those two factors will be really, really pleasant events, right? Pleasant circumstances. So those pleasant circumstances can only come about as a result of some extraordinary kindnesses that have accumulated and are then ripening as our ability to reach this platform of meditation and this growing intellectual understanding of emptiness that can grow into our direct perception. Those two will be results of extraordinary goodness. What kind of goodness? The goodness we grow in our study and practice of Sultram. So Sultram means morality. So we have wisdom, meditative concentration, and morality. And when these three are worked with, with a motivation to be able to reach our own total enlightenment in order to help everyone stop their suffering forever. That when we study wisdom, work on our meditative concentration, and learn and practice our morality, these three practices become the extraordinary trainings of Sherab, Tingenzin, and Sultram. So the extraordinary trainings are called the three baskets, the Tripitaka. I wrote it down somewhere. I don't see it here, but let me give it to you now. Tripitaka, aka Tripitaka. That got too many I's in there. Tripitaka. It means the three baskets. It's Sanskrit. Tripitaka is the Sanskrit, the three baskets. The three extraordinary trainings. We can train in Sherab, Tinginzin, and Sultram just to learn them. We can train in them. Probably we can train in them to close the door to lesser rebirth. But when we are training in them with bodhicitta, that's what makes them extraordinary. When we're training with them in extraordinary, the seeds we plant as we are doing them are different than doing the same tasks with a mind that's motivated to close the doors to lesser rebirth, or the mind that's motivated to reach our own nirvana. The motivation with which we do our deeds influence the seed that's planted with the same behavior. So the extraordinary training of Tinginzin is helping us create the seeds through which the mind can become like that still lake that can perfectly reflect our object, like the full moon reflecting in the lake. If the lake is perfectly still, the full moon, like you can see all the details of the moon in the lake. But if there's the slightest breeze, the slightest ripple on the lake, then the moon gets all distorted. And you can still say, oh, there's the moon shining in the lake, but right, it's just wobbly. It's not like the one in the sky, which is still. So in the Tinginzin quality of meditating mind, we have this mind that is single-pointed focus on its object, free of the ripply lake of agitation, and free of being too drowsy, too sleepy to pay attention to the details in the moon. So the object itself may be doing stuff. We are single-pointed on it, no matter what, without these two distractions. The Sultram aspect is in order to get to a mind that is that still, we need a mind that's very clean, very pure. In the analogy of the lake with the moon, if you have debris floating around inside the lake, or you've got fish or turtles, swimming around underneath, their movement's gonna ripple the effect of the lake. So anything other than this peaceful lake that's in the lake is going to interfere with the ability for the moon to shine so completely. The turtle, the fish, the debris, that all represents our misunderstanding and selfishness and all the negative seeds that we have in our minds as a result. So if we are a samsaric being and we're having trouble concentrating when we want to, Like, don't beat yourself up. Just work with our purification and gathering goodness to change the seeds. A mind that's worked up about whether I get what I want or I don't isn't going to meditate. It's not a willpower thing. And it's not really even a training thing. It's a karmic management thing. And so Sultram, the study and practice of morality, becomes the keystone of growing both other baskets, our ability to get single-pointed concentration enough to get Sharab. They're all based on Sultram. Gathering the goodness in our minds, clean, pure goodness that allows the mind to get still, that allows the mind to reveal the empty nature of its meditating object. So we could theoretically meditate for years and not make much progress. If we didn't get properly trained in the factors that we need to understand in order to ripen the seeds for a good meditation. And then even if we studied those factors, but we did not apply them well, we could still meditate and not make progress. So we learn the factors, and then it's our own personal task to try them on for size, right? To put them into practice and use them. So that's what this class is about, is helping us dig into morality, the ethical way of life, so that we can have more tools to make our own personal choices about how to respond in our different circumstances of daily life in ways that will burn off the seeds that are preventing our deep meditation and plant seeds that will help cultivate our deep meditation so that we can reach that Sharab before we lose the opportunity. Okay, let's take a break. So I will stop share, pause the recording. Tom had a question. Pause. I'm going to resume. Wait. Okay, mine's on. Yes. Mine must be going. Hope mine's going. Share screen. I'm going to go back. The vocabulary. Ding. Okay. So we understand that the relationship between what we do in the moment and what we get next is so subtle that we can't actually see the real cause and effect relationship that's happening. We fall for it time and time again, that I click the pen, the tip comes out, I put it against my hand, and I can write something with it. Did it? Yeah. I think that all that action made this show up on my palm, right? That's nicer. But technically, the real cause of all of that was something that I did in the past. That if this was a good thing, what I did in the past was somehow helpful. And if this was a bad thing, an unpleasant thing, then what I did in the past that created this was an unkind thing. The specifics of what unkindness or kindness only can be perceived by omniscience. We can get the general principle well enough to work with it. But the actual details, Sarani, do you remember in like October 3rd, the year 712, you were doing that kind thing for that one person, but you inadvertently stepped on that other person's foot. That's what caused the fact that it hurt your palm a little bit when you were making that drawing to demonstrate. It's like, really? And I don't know, doesn't seem so pertinent to life, except that if we were keenly aware of our kindnesses and unkindnesses, with this keen awareness of how it's going to be my experience in the future, we would tiptoe around others in our behavior in the sense of being so careful not to harm physically, not to cause any distress emotionally or mentally. And it seems like impossible. What about me? Says our ignorant mind. What about me? And there is the rub. We can't put this concern for protecting other so high on our list with a still ignorant mind, a mind that still believes that my happiness and their happiness are somehow separate things. So, because those details of karma are deeply hidden reality, only omniscient being can perceive them. Our Buddha Shakyamuni, he spent half of his time teaching about ethics, about morality. Because morality is about all these obvious and subtle ways to be less harmful and more helpful in ways that we might not even think of as samsaric beings. More and more subtle ways. So there is this topic then. In Tibetan, it's Dowa. Sanskrit is Vinaya. Vinaya means ethics or discipline. Dowa is the term that is used in Tibetan to tame a wild horse, like a wild animal of any, right, that could be domesticated. There's a process you would have to go through to get that animal to cooperate with you instead of just go off and do its own thing. So Tibetans translate Vinaya as Dowa, and the The wild horse to be tamed is called dulja, which is the student, right? The me, the disciple, is dulja, the wild horse to be tamed. A wild horse knows its own mind, right? Particularly the head of the herd, right? The stallion. Stallion's got to protect his herd. He's got like 3 things on his mind: food, protect the herd, and sex, procreate. And if anybody or anything gets in the way of those 3 things, watch out. And our belief in our own self-existence, me independent of other things, in particular, me independent of my karmic seeds ripening, that me just wants what it wants. And it wants to avoid what it doesn't want. And deep, deep down, other things get in the way. They are the source of my happiness and the source of my upset. And so I blame them for everything. I blame them for my happiness, in which case I want more of them, and they need to be mine, all mine. And if I blame them for my unhappiness, then you stay away from me, right? And all of that leads to all the kinds of behaviors that makes a samsaric being in a samsaric world, right? Willing to do things to get what I want and avoid what I don't want to satisfy my needs. And it's like, that's really, at a really ugly level, it's really gross. And none of us are like that. We all have consideration for others. We all are already kind people. And yet, when we check in with me and my world, are we relating to ourselves as me and my karma, me and my seeds ripening? Or are we still relating to our world as me and you? Right? If you are my seeds ripening, it changes our relationship a bit. You know, maybe you're not aware of it, but my own mind is watching. And if it's aware that I'm interacting with others with this understanding of they are, right? They are all manifestations of me. That's where that exchanging self and others helps our practice grow. Different class, different story. So our resistance to living with this wholehearted, overwhelming concern for the other at our own expense is blocked by the wild horse of our belief in a me that exists independent of my karmic seeds. A me that's the one, right, who is a me. So Dulwa, or the Dulja who Dulwas, is training to tame themselves. The teacher shares with us how to do it, but we need to do it ourselves. I don't think there's any wild horse in the world that's tamed itself, because why would you? Unless you have this glimpse that our behavior as a wild horse is a dead end, and it's just going to lead to more and more suffering. And then at some point, we get a level of renunciation that says, there's got to be an answer here. There has to be somebody who knows. And then for this group, our seeds ripened. We heard the pen thing, and our seeds ripened to hear it as something extraordinarily profound. There's nothing in it from it that's extraordinarily profound because other people can hear it and they go, yeah, duh, and it doesn't affect them. So it's a sign of our own past study practice that to hear an explanation of things are unique to the observer and have that crack something open in our heart is extraordinary goodness that we want to ride. So that goodness was a result of some good seeds past, planted in the past. And we want to be able to perpetuate that. So our study of Vinaya is our study of what do I need to do to tame this thing, my wild horse, my selfishness and my ignorance. Those two go together. Right? We would not be selfish if we didn't misunderstand our true nature. All right. So we'll be studying, oh, there they are, Tripitaka and Dulja. We'll be studying from someone named Nulcha Dharmabhadra. He's often called Lama Quicksilver. He's a big Lama in our Vajragini tradition, so you'll go on to hear more about him. He's a Tibetan from the 1700s. We'll have his dates later. He's said about Flavia, if I'm doing something that's a problem. Your hand went up. You okay? Okay. Some Flavia has a question, but she can't talk to me anyway. Okay, no worries. Thank you. Nilcha Dharmabhadra says of Vinaya, we call Vinaya Vinaya because the subject matter of the scriptures on discipline, which is the 7 rules and all their friends, functions to discipline the mental afflictions and also functions to discipline the sense organs. So I'm going to say it a couple of times because it's on your homework. We call discipline discipline because the subject matter of the scriptures on discipline, which is the 7 rules and all their friends, functions to discipline the mental afflictions and also functions to discipline the sense organs. He's describing discipline. They don't call it a definition of discipline, thank goodness, because he used the word discipline 5 times in his explanation of discipline. Like, I learned that that's illegal. You can't use the word in your description of the word. But let me say it one more time so you have it. We call discipline discipline because the subject matter of the scriptures on discipline, which is the 7 rules and all their friends, functions to discipline the mental afflictions and to discipline our sense organs. So what is it we're taming? We're taming our mental afflictions and our sense organs. Mental afflictions, nyomong in Tibetan, klesha in Sanskrit. we hear the word klesha used more frequently, I think. Buddha taught that we have 84,000 varieties of non-virtuous deeds of body, speech, and mind that we use, that we do as samsaric beings. To make it easier on us, he boiled them down to 10 main ones. And out of these 10 main ones, subtleties of them make up all the rest of the 84,990. So if we know the 10, and we're careful about the 10 in that onion thing, skin theory, if you avoid the outermost, you aren't ever going to get to the innermost. So we've studied those 10 non-virtues. There are 3 of body, 4 of speech, 3 of mind. The 3 of body are killing any creature, stealing anything of value, sexual misconduct, primarily adultery. The 4 of speech are lying, divisive speech, meaning alienating people from each other with your speech, harsh words, something that hurts, and idle speech, useless, unnecessary. And the 3 of mind, which technically the first one is craving. As we understand it more deeply, it's being unhappy when other people get some kind of success or happiness. And then the 9th one, ill will, being happy with someone else's distress of some kind. And number 10, wrong view. That has many levels. At the surface level, it's not believing in past and future lives and not believing in Buddhahood, which means karma can't be true. So not believing in karma, not understanding karma. Karma isn't really about belief or not. It's about understanding. So in his description, we call discipline because the scriptures talk about the 7 and their friends. It's talking about the 10 non-virtues, first 7, the 3 of body and 3 of speech. 4 of speech. The 3 of mind are addressed in the Bodhisattva vows and above. We first need to train ourselves in the morality of our physical actions and our speech. And of course, our mental actions we're still working with. But the topic of Vinaya is addressing our reactions to our physical world and how we react through our speech to that physical world. So the 7 is these 7 non-virtues, not the last 3. Their friends are all the subtleties of not so kind behavior that we do as a result of those 7. Okay. All of those behaviors are driven by mental afflictions and plant seeds for more mental afflictions. So in these 10 non-virtues, we learned before that the reason they're considered non-virtues is not because of something unique to each of them, in them, from them. They are non-virtues because when they come back to us, they are extraordinarily painful. To kill, to take a life means our life will get taken. To steal something means we will be stolen from. We won't be able to get our needs met. We'll be a poor person forever. To sexual misconduct means we and others in our life will be unreliable. To lie, giving a false impression, a misimpression, means we won't be able to trust what other people say. We won't even trust what we say. Divisive speech, right? We won't be able to get the help we need. Harsh words, sounds will be painful. Experiences will be painful because we spoke harshly. Useless speech, you know, all kinds of useless stuff going on in our world. So it's by way of how those behaviors come back to us that establishes them as non-virtues. We will only react when we have a mental affliction about a situation. The mental affliction colors our choice of behavior according to our habit. So when somebody's yelling at us, if our habit in this life grew into you just yell back louder, and it seemed to work to get them to stop yelling, then that mental affliction comes up when we're being yelled at, and our natural reaction is to yell back. Maybe somebody else, the reaction was to cry, you know, and that seemed to get a response. Then when you get yelled at, your natural reaction is to cry. But our natural reaction is colored by the misunderstanding. So whether it works or doesn't work, ultimately, it's not going to break the cycle until we go outside that particular experience and stop planting the seed for that experience to happen again in towards other people. Yeah, we've learned that. So Vinaya is about the specifics of Buddha's teachings about how to train our habitual blaming the others for what's happening to me. And it starts on the level of being able to tame our sense organs and their attraction to things that seem to be attractive. We see something, it triggers a response. Our response has the ripening, oh, I like, I want, I'll grasp, I'll do to get and keep. Right? It's all on this automatic pilot. If the sense objects never saw the donut in the window, you would never have gone inside, right? And bought the last donut so that the old lady couldn't get her maple covered donut. I mean, silly example. If we never saw the thing, if we never heard the boss yelling, we wouldn't be upset with the boss. It's such a baby level. You can't avoid life. So to tame our sense organs it does start with reduce your exposure to things that make you want or make you want to avoid. Reduce your exposure while you work on your responses to those mental afflictions that come up. But in the long run, you can't just keep avoiding, right? Donuts. They're gonna show up again. And so what we're training ourselves to do is to recognize how the information that we get from the sensory organs triggers this process of recognition, then I want, and then I act, to give us the time to choose how we're going to act. You know, maybe you eventually see that donut, you want the donut, you go in, you buy the donut, and you take it out to the nearest homeless person and give it to them. And they flash this big toothless grin, you know, thanks, I haven't had a donut in 100 years. I'll really enjoy it. And all right, is that as good as eating the donut yourself? Maybe even better. Maybe not. But you planted the seed in your mind for some pleasurable thing to come to you sometime in the future. And even if that's a side effect of what you did, it's a pleasure. And we've added a little more pleasure to the world, the homeless person's pleasure then, and yours later. Whereas ordinarily, we would have gone in and bought the donut and ate it ourselves. A little bit of pleasure that wore out. So just learning to use our impulses instead of react to them is what this dowa is about. And to be able to do it in a way that plants seeds to contribute to the end of samsara takes some greater specificity than our own samsaric thinking. So Buddha teaches us about discipline. He gives us vowed behaviors even to follow so that we ourselves don't have to stop and decide what would be the best thing to do in this situation. We simply need to be keenly aware of the vows that we have. And that will, right, our job would be to go, well, this situation matches that vow, and that vow says, don't do this, do that. Okay, thank you. That makes life easier in a lot of ways, because we don't have to be like agonizing over what to do. Just check it according to your vow card. I didn't find it as easy as that personally, because the vows aren't as specific as we hope that they could be. But it is in there. Okay, so yikers, I got to get going here. When the young monks joined the monastery at 7 years old, the first thing that they're given to memorize is this phrase, Dowa ni tendang tumpa nuyen. Dowa ni tendang tumpa nuyen. Dowa ni tendang tumpa nuyen. Nuyen means actually is. Dumpa means the teacher, capital T, meaning the Buddha. Dendong means the Buddha's teachings. Dowa ni means discipline is. So what this is saying is that if the Vinaya is taught, I, the Buddha, am there. So anywhere that Vinaya is being taught, says Lord Buddha, the Buddha is there. The Vinaya scriptures themselves represent the entire teaching of Lord Buddha. And so Buddha is saying to us, if we study Vinaya, we can say that the Buddha is here with us. When you are studying to do your homeworks and quizzes, Buddha is there with you. Ask him, do I understand this? Help me understand this. Help me learn this. Help me use it. To study and practice Vinaya keeps Buddha in the world. I don't see him walking around in his red robes. But Buddhism is alive. And there's no guarantee that it will stay alive. And what keeps it alive is Vinaya. It's interesting. We would think it would be, no, studying karma and emptiness. But we could study karma and emptiness and not have the karmic goodness to understand it at all. And it would all just be words and, agitating. The way we know we're understanding karma and emptiness is that our behavior changes. Okay. So as long as anyone in the world is studying and practicing Vinaya, then the Buddha is still alive in the world. Yay, that's a rejoiceable. So anybody who's keeping their book, you are keeping Buddhism alive. Yay. All right, so we have a lineage that we're studying from. We have a series of textbooks that we're studying from to demonstrate that this is coming from authentic sources. I'm going to go faster here. There are two teachings by Lord Buddha. So the word Do, Sanskrit sutra, it usually means the teachings of a Buddha, the words of a Buddha. However, the word Do, sutra, also means a short book. So we're going to see that later. Here, these are words of the Buddha. There are two teachings. One of them is called Gelong Pei Sotarki Do. The second one is Gelong Mei Sotarki Do. So I just put these in quotes for the pronunciation. It's not Mei and Pei, it's Pai and Mai. Sotarki Do. Gelong Pai means fully ordained monk. Gelong Mai means fully ordained nun. Sotar means their freedom vows. So this is the sutra of the freedom vows of a fully ordained monk and the sutra of the freedom vows of a fully ordained nun. They have similar vows and they have different vows, of course. We will be studying from those, not in great depth, but from their principle. Then there's another text called Dowe Do. Sanskrit name is Vinaya Sutra. This is where the term Do or sutra means a short book, not the Buddha's words. Because this text, Dowe Do, it's a short book that reviews something called the four explanatory, where'd it go? The four explanatory commentaries. The four explanatory sutras. So Buddha gave us these two sutras, and he gave us another text called the Four Explanatory Sutras about Vinaya. And then this person, Lobpang Yunten U, this is his Sanskrit name in Tibetan. He's a Sanskrit person because his years is 500 AD. His Sanskrit name, Acharya, meaning master, Gunaprava. Gunaprava studied those four explanatory sutras, and then he wrote a synopsis of them called the Vinaya Sutra, a short book on Vinaya. In Geshe Michael's book, The Garden, Gunaprabha was that Lama that came to him and taught about Vinaya. I think he had the Kapse. We'll study that text in a bit of detail. Then there are three commentaries that we're going to use as well. So commentaries are texts that have been written by masters along the path, not Lord Buddha himself, and not the ones that wrote down Lord Buddha's words, but those who have studied and practiced that came along after, and they taught and wrote as well. So we have this collection of commentaries by great masters. This Doe Do is one of those commentaries. Another one is Doa Gyatsoi Ningpo. Ningpo means the essence or the heart essence. Doa is discipline. Gyatsoi means ocean. So the heart essence of the ocean of discipline. This is written by our hero Jetson Kappa 1357 to 1419. It's a summary of the four explanatory sutras. Short, sweet, concise, and ununderstandable without a commentary of its own. Another text we will study is this one called Nyingje. Nyingje. Nyingje means day maker, to make the day, meaning like sunshine. Sunshine makes the day. Come on. This sunshine is like shedding sunlight on the true meaning of something. And here it's shining sunlight on the true meaning of the Dowa Gyatsoi Ningpo. So Nyingje is a commentary to Jetsun Kappa's text by Nilcha Dharmavajra, who I mentioned earlier, who said they call Vinaya Vinaya because his dates are 1772 to 1851. Then the last commentary we will study with is Yishin Norbu. Yishin Norbu means a wish-fulfilling jewel. And the tradition has it that if you find one of these jewels and you clean it up and you honor it and you bless it in a certain way, you can wish it to be anything that you want. But it's any like worldly thing that you want. And the moral to the story is any worldly thing that you want that this wishing jewel becomes will just perpetuate your suffering, so don't bother. But the idea of a wish-fulfilling jewel, like something that could bring you what you want, it makes it so precious. So Yishin Norbu means this wish-fulfilling jewel, written by Choni Lama Drakpa Shedrup. We're familiar with him, aren't we? He's written many of the textbooks 1675 to 1748 are his dates. This commentary is a commentary on Gunaprabha's Vinaya Sutra. Right, so we've got Jetsun review of the four explanatory sutras and Nucha Dharma Bhadra's commentary on Jetsun so we can understand it. And then we have Gunaprabha's Vinaya Sutra, which is a summary of the four, sorry. I'm having a senior moment. And then Choni Lama's commentary on the Vinaya Sutra. Okay. So last thing. Jetsun Kappa had four great disciples. We hear about the main two, Kedrub-je and Gyaltsab-je. He had two others. One was Gendin Drup, who went on to become the first Dalai Lama. And then the other one was, his name was Nawang Drakpa. Nawang Drakpa Sakawampo. This was the disciple who, after they'd finished their training, Jetsun Kappa said, you know, we need somebody to go out and establish monasteries and ordain people. And, you know, most of the students, you know, looked away. They didn't want to do it. And Nawang Drakpa, he goes, I'll do it. But that meant he was away from the Lama, you know, for like forever after. And he missed Jetsun Kappa so much. And he would write letters. So finally, he had established a monastery at a place called Gelrong. And he was ready to ordain the first monks. And he ordained them, and then he sent a letter to his Holy Lama about it. And Jetsun Kappa wrote back and wrote this instruction on how to instruct, how to guide these new monks. And that became this text that we're studying. Other correspondence between Nawang Drakpa and Jetsun Kappa had in it things like the three principal paths and source of all my good. So these practices that we use of Jetsun Kappa's, they actually came out of this distant relationship between Nawang Drakpa and Jetsun Kappa, because Nawang Drakpa is out there carrying out the Lama's wishes, okay? Building monasteries, ordaining people, keeping the Dharma safe in the world by teaching and practicing Vinaya. Okay, so that's our class 1. We've got our basics. We'll dig into the Vinaya in our next couple of weeks. Remember that person we wanted to be able to help? We've learned a lot that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with happiness, filled with loving kindness. And may it be so. Okie doke. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Please do your homeworks. And I will see you. We're back on schedule. We are Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday, Thursday. I will see you Thursday. Okay.
Yes.
Bye-bye. Yes.